Welcome everybody. We're here to talk today with Marijn Tabai. Did I get that right, or did I totally massacre your?
Close enough.
And Megan Neal of Limitless about this new phenomena, which is how is gig employment going to affect customer experience? And I'm going to have a really interesting conversation today. So to get it kicked off, we'd like Marijn to just give us a quick introduction of what the heck is gig CX.
Right. Well, I'm going to partly leave that to Megan because she knows much more about it than I do. But I do want to talk a little bit what it means to us, right? Why is the gig CX and the economy around it important for us as a company and for Genesis? And I think it all started when we thought about workforce engagement management in the widest context of the word. And that's happened somewhere in the last summer. So actually quite recently, about a year ago, so we started looking at the wider industry that we're in, which we think is kind of stale and has not been disrupted for quite some time. And if the pandemic did anything good, it was tell us that humans and human agents in contact center domains are really important, much more of an asset than they are a cost. And that's how we started looking at them and started influencing our roadmap around WEM. And as I said in the beginning, to make it as wide as possible, I started looking at disruption. And one of the things that we found during the pandemic is that a lot of our customers and other enterprises were enabled or open on their channels, but hardly empowered. And when they felt, well, this is going to go to digital, we're fine, that really didn't happen, right? So people did go to a digital domain first and then found very quickly that they were relying on voice agents to actually help them further or give them human skills that they required, like assurance or comforting or empathy. And this is where we started thinking there's much more than just your primary agent source that we want to bring into account. This is a secondary world and a secondary economy that we want to make sure is part of this discussion as well. And this is where the gig economy became real for us. And hence we started looking for partners to participate and allow us to get our feet wet.
Talk to our other guest, who is Megan Neal. She's the COO and founder of a company called Limitless. And they are specifically going after trying to build systems that will allow people to work in a gig style and for customer support. So Megan, tell us a little bit about what is gig CX and what you guys are up to.
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much for having me. It's thrilled to be here. I think it's probably just worth taking one little step back as to why is the gig economy so important to every single organization right now, we believe. Recent data that's just come out has shown that actually there are 60 million independent workers already in the US, representing around $1.5 trillion worth of US GDP. And the analysts are predicting that by 2030, actually 50% of the US workforce will be engaged in some way, shape or form in independent work. So this is here to stay. And actually, we genuinely believe that every single organization should have a gig economy strategy to tap into the best talent that they can worldwide. So we think customer service is one of the most obvious places to start. We would say that. We founded a business on that basis. But it comes from having spent 20 years in the customer management industry, building and running large-scale contact center operations across many geos for many, many organizations. And at its heart, it's exactly what you said. It is crowdsourced customer support, but allowing organizations to invite in their incredibly passionate, brand loyal product experts into their service ecosystem and leveraging a gig CX platform to route tickets to them securely and in a very, very highly compliant way, because this is enterprise that we're talking about, and allow those experts to help other customers on a per task basis and be rewarded per task in a very fair way.
How is this going to work for these knowledge resources and support staff? And how do we manage those people? It sounds like we're handing things off to them. How is the management of those folks happening?
Yeah, it's a great question, because of course what we're very good at doing in the contact center, customer experience space is building controls. You know, we're exceptional about trying to control everything. And of course, that's the whole world that we've created over the last 20 years. But this is about applying appropriate controls, but also letting people be human, as Marijn said in the introduction. What we really, I think, want to achieve in the industry is the ability to let people be people, engage with other people in a human and empathetic way to deliver the best outcomes. So the Gig CX model fundamentally has 3 pillars. The first pillar is the experts themselves, so inviting the appropriate people who have the appropriate skills to the platform and making sure that they qualify. So this is not a free-for-all. This is not about someone just going to an app store, downloading an app and saying, hey, I can support Microsoft or I can support ePay. This is about a highly curated process to bring the right skills and talent into the platform where everyone has comfort around that. It's about a platform that then manages that end-to-end experience and manages all aspects of quality control. And then it's about a managed service that oversees that whole end-to-end process, much like you would engage with a BPO or a partner organization that you get services from. So for us, it is a very different proposition to community. Many people are familiar with the concept of community, which is largely unregulated and designed to be so. It is a highly controlled environment, but really can tap into the fact that your talent can be anywhere in the world.
Okay, so I want to ask a little bit about what's the opportunity here, and Marijn and Megan, what is this market looking like now, and how's this going to grow, do you think?
Well, Megan gave you some statistics, right? So 60 million independent workers. Everybody knows Uber and Airbnb. They're words in themselves by now. Mm-hmm. I think in the same article, they talk about the expectation of 50% of workers in the US by 2025, 2030 to be in a contract situation like that, like a gig expert or a gig economy worker, which for me means that if you think about it in contact center domain and definitions, that 50% is the low bar. So when I think about customer service or customer experience, I think that percentage will be much higher even. And one of the statements you made, Randy, you used the word handing off. And I think that's actually the thing that we don't want to do. I think that handing off is this concept where you have a wall and you hand it over the wall and then hope that somebody else will carry it forward. And I think that the ideal situation where I think gig experts are really useful and really add value is when you augment your primary agent population or your primary dedicated customer service domain with people that have ultimate flexibility, that are peer recommenders, that are super loyal about the brand that they are working for, very focused on customer satisfaction, actually are being rewarded for that, right? It also means that for me, there's still a role for outsourcers. There's a massive role for bots, but all these 4 components together form your ultimate engagement plan. And we don't want to hand this off. We want to make the right intent-based decision to the right profile of the agent or the bots that can help that customer. And I think sometimes, or quite often, that will be a peer recommender or a person that is in that domain that still has a large dose of empathy to share with the customer that's looking for that. And for me, that means not only is this market from an agent perspective something that we want to see, we want to understand that, we want to be able to plan, we want to be able to quality management, we want to be able to route to them. At the same time, if they are getting stuck, they need to be able to go back into the normal contact center domain as well, without making this a very disconnected environment, right? So that's really important for us. So that's part of the market. And because of that 40% to 60%, and by 2030 even higher than that, it's a large population that we serve that are part of our business, that will occupy seats, be it in a virtual work from anywhere kind of way. But for us, that is a statement that we want to be participating with and understand and make them part of customer engagement models. So that's why we're investing and looking at this market quite closely.
So are we looking for people who are kind of these natural advocates? We run into people on social sites and things like that. They end up becoming moderators because they just love the topic, or they love the people that are using the site. Is that the kind of talent we're looking for?
And then, of course, you have this hugely growing cohort of people who want to stay in the gig economy because it kind of satisfies both their personal and their professional needs. So when we survey these groups of people, there are 3 main reasons people largely want to become and stay experts on our platform. The first, as you quite rightly say, is they love the brand. They truly, it's almost a privilege to be engaged with the brand at this level, to have that level of closeness and connection. The second, which I absolutely love, is they really love helping people. And I don't think there's anyone in our industry that doesn't get a kick out of that sense of satisfaction of just helping someone, that individual engagement where you know you've made a difference to someone's day. So that is hugely valuable. And then the third, which is really where we are very passionate about, is making sure that they feel valued and they are rewarded fairly for the conversation or the engagement or the tasks that they complete on the platform. So all of those three things together make a really powerful combination that means that service can be almost completely different to what we know today.
It sounds like, people have so much freedom to be able to kind of come and go when they want and start working. But that would kind of, from a traditional management point of view, that would maybe look like it would be really streaky and toothy of when I would have resources available. How are you handling that?
Well, the traditional way of managing a contact center is by walking around. And that doesn't work anymore either, right? So work from home has kind of taken that off the charts as an option. So we need to find different ways of managing anyway. I think that the big thing I really like about the possibilities that gig experts give us is their ultimate flexibility. I call it asynchronous heaven, right? So I could even create an environment or a journey for an asynchronous customer that's sitting on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever, and communicate with the same expert constantly. Even if it was a period of 7 days with 50 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 2 minutes here. With a gig expert, I can do that. With an agent that is linked to a shift that actually is not all that flexible after all, I will never be able to do that. So there's this constant handover of, are we done here? Are we not done here? Mm-hmm. There's no way to really build a relationship if that happens. And with an asynchronous expert or a gig expert, I could actually do that. So I think it's
with asynchronous. So you traditionally it makes it really hard for them to pick up the context because they have to go back and read everything. But you're saying this is like human context.
Yeah, you can actually add an empathy layer to an asynchronous conversation that I think is hard to do if you keep on handing it back and forth, right? By the way, it applies to other asynchronous media types as well, right? SMS or text. And yesterday, Megan and I were talking about even callbacks could fit that model too, because you've got a little bit more flexibility to arrange. And I think when you think about the widest context of WEM, this is where this then comes together, is the ability for us to build our entire engagement plan around people. And people are not just customers. There are agents and secondary agents or gig expert and bots and outsourced agents as well. So instead of just having my primary piece scheduled and managed, I think there's a lot to say to create an engagement plan that takes everything into account and allow those gig experts to fill the little holes that you have throughout the day. Offer them work as they come and see what they pick up, right? And making sure that you have engagement alternatives, because in all fairness, a contact center is a real-time operation. There's no way that I can create a schedule for 6 weeks and then in week 5 things, I'm fine. I've got a schedule that's been created. Not going to work. So you need to be able to adapt and change the real-time environment on a continuous basis. And I think the addition of those gig experts, but also the inclusion of bots and outsourced agents into a much bigger engagement plan is something that we believe is the right way to go with WEM. Which, by the way, for our industry will be super disruptive, right? Because I'm routing, I'm creating forecast, I'm creating a schedule, and then I adhere to the schedule. And if they don't, I micromanage them to the restroom. I think that those days are gone. I think the goal is to create a plan that satisfies the people that you have, that allows you to change and transform the business that you're running, to enable your digital channels as well at the same time, and create the biggest flexibility around it for your customers. So matching of profiles with your agent profiles, that's the name of the game. And that's what we're building in Genesis WEM. So we're super happy with the ability to do this with Limitless.
Okay. I read somewhere that you're also using these workers to also kind of consult with each other internally. There was some review circles or something like that to help people get better at this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So one of the big challenges we set ourselves when we designed the GigCX platform is how can we achieve perfect service every time? I've spent 20 years in this industry where achieving high quality consistently has just been near on impossible. Of course, we have pockets of it. We have brilliant agent groups who we just want to clone, but it's just not possible. So how do we build an environment and a platform that enables us to achieve that? And yeah, it's very simple. It's a peer review process. So 100% of activity on the platform goes through a peer review where other peers who have qualified to be reviewers check the work of those that have completed the tasks, and confirm that the work has been done to the standard required, and that's the client standards and Limitless standards. So really we move from our traditional model of 5%, if you're lucky, QA checks where you may take a week to get back in front of the agent and give them their feedback, to 100% real-time quality monitoring. So therefore this can operate at scale, which was always our main aim, obviously.
If you think about that, by the way, in concepts like predictive routing, this is a super valuable piece of information, right? To make agent profiles match to the intent that your customers have. It's very relevant from a routing decision-making perspective. So very seamless that way as well. So yeah, absolute gold mine of information.
So there are measurements actually coming from these internal reviews that are happening between the experts, and you can use that to help your routing. Is that correct?
Yeah, the data points that we have are incredibly exciting in terms of impacting the intent analysis and the content and categorization of queries. To, everybody wants the query to go to the right person to achieve the maximum resolution or first contact resolution. And really the feedback of all these algorithms coming back into Genesis to enable Genesis to then make better decisions, I think is a really exciting area.
Okay, well, this has been a really interesting conversation, but I'm going to start to wind it up here. So final thought, what's the one most important thing about this emerging technology of gig CX that our listeners need to know about this? Can they go to an account executive or to a sales channel in Genesis and engage?
Yeah, we can. We have a plug and play integration, right? It's that simple. Mm-hmm. So we can demo it live. And as you know, with Genesis Cloud, everything we demo is product. So we can, and they can get started today. The one thing I would like to say, and maybe this is me preaching a little bit, but I think you should do this because you want to transform your business, you want to change, and you're eager to do so. If you see this as a deflection strategy, and after you did IVR and then you did your digital, and now this is the next deflection strategy, I think that's not the real concept. I think the concept is to change the way you look at customer experience, bring this in to actually focus on your primary agent at the same time focusing on your customers. I think this is what it allows to do. So if that is your motivation, I think that's a better motivation, and I'm more than happy to engage. So you can call me, and I'm totally fine to have the discussion and make sure that you find your way and partner, because we got our feet wet. It's a beautiful dawn. Join me and get your feet wet as well.
The message I'd like to leave everyone with is actually every organization should start to think now about a gig economy strategy to help them be future-proof. And whether you're studying that in customer service or other parts of your organization that are critical to your business, then start that thought process with your senior leadership team right now. I think the second point is that recognize it is an area that will touch many different parts of your business. You can't do it alone in a single organization. So for example, in our world, we touch marketing because we're now engaging customers, right? And traditionally, customer service and marketing haven't had a hugely close relationship in my experience. But this is a beautiful way to start to marry the two. It also starts to touch really on legal considerations, information security considerations, technology considerations. So it's a business project. It's not a customer service project. And I think that really is talking and leveraging and understanding the experience that our other clients have had, who are all really open to talking and sharing best practice, because it's such an interesting area. And I know we're talking about this as if it's something brand new, but actually we worked with some of our clients for over 4 years. So there's lots of knowledge in the industry that can be shared. And you don't have to start big. You can start small, trial something, get some real strong data points that can help you with your internal decision-making and business case. So it's not scary. In fact, it's the opposite. It's exciting.
So where would I get started if I'm interested in this? You mentioned that you've got some reports online.
Yeah. I think there's kind of three easy ways to get started. The first is our GigCX report 2021. So we have amazing content from experts from 34 different countries. They speak 56 languages. The profile and demographics of that data is incredible. We have amazing senior CX thought leaders, contributors, and we have analyst views as well. So that will give you, if you want to read a 50-page report, the end-to-end view, the encyclopedia of GigCX. Alternatively, you can talk to us or just talk to your Genesys account executive. They would be really happy to understand what you're excited about and then point you in our direction to learn more.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Megan Neal and Marijn Tabay, for helping us learn a little bit more about this interesting subject. We'll be watching it. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.